In this video for the high-resolution 3D seabed charts for the TurboWind software family, we will take a look at the folios for the southwest approaches and the Scilly to start point folios. We will switch back to depth units being fathoms. I know that in the UK a lot of the boats work fathoms as all their depth measurements and distance measurements in the water. So let's just start here. Got the 6 and 12 mile limits here in red and green. And we'll zoom into the 6 mile limit, give or take a little bit. Okay. We can see seabed features starting to appear in the 3D image. 6 mile limit here in red in the left hand image. With some very strong features up here. And depending what type of fishing you're doing, you'll be looking for different kinds of seabed. So we'll go back onto the navigation screen and we'll start to zoom in. And we can see we're at under just about a mile to the screen, 1 to 7,500 scale. And you can see these quite spectacular sand waves on the seabed. You see it be coming from different directions, so it would indicate a strong mixture of currents and tides going on. If we take a look further out, zoom out, I would say that would be kind of consistent for where we're centered at. I will switch off the color wash on the surface and I'll switch on the Proudman tidal streams. And we'll zoom back in. Just now we're looking at the surface tides only. We do have seabed tide as well. That's the seabed tide and that's the combined tide. You'll see that seabed tide is weaker than the surface tide, but as we progress hour by hour, you'll see that they do separate and change directions. So we'll go back to the local time for the tide. I'll switch these off. Most people run with their tide arrows on all the time, so they know what direction to work in, taking advantage of the natural environment around them. But we're focusing on the charts here, not the tides. So if we take a zoom out, and we'll move over here towards Lundy, 6 and 12 miles there. And again we can see the features on the seabed which are not available on any navigation chart. I'll switch the colour wash back on here. So if, for example, you wanted to shoot a fleet of pots in a depth area of 40 meters to 50 meters. That green area there along that edge would be the where you would sail, shooting your gear as you went along that steep edge there. You could put a few fleets out here, and as we zoom in, that edge will become more defined. So we'll carry on down towards the Cornish coast, Devon and Cornwall. Again, out at the 12-mile limit. You can see these features starting to jump out at us. And again, we're about a mile to the screens, 1 to 7,500 scale. We'll just zoom out to the north here. There's a clutch of features on the seabed. For trawlers, avoid them. For static gear, nets, pots, lines. These are places you want to be hunting out. And again, very little, if any, detail on the navigation chart about it. It's too deep for providing any concern for safety of navigation. But for fishermen who are looking to produce a livelihood from it, very worthwhile. We'll go and take a look at the Scilly Isles. A reasonably flat piece of seabed there, about 49 fathoms. To the east of it, we've got this rock outcrop. So about 25 fathoms depth. Again, we have an unusual shape from the artist's impression, but from a standpoint of catching fish on this, you can see that the shape of it is only revealed when you look at these charts. The channels down the side of it here, steep faces on the east side, another channel running down here on the west side, and these multiple channels as well. We'll come across to going here. So we can see these scours in the seabed, whether it be scours or ancient riverbeds. And over time, the sea changes things. Here we have, it looks like something very large and hard poking out of the seabed. So looking at 400 meters top to bottom of the screen. So we've got a very pronounced object. Highest point's about 41 fathoms, falling away to 44 fathoms. And that's on a relatively flat piece of seabed. Everything's sitting about 44 fathoms around it. So if I was working nets, I was working a trawl, I'd probably try to avoid that a little bit. Well, it's not so high that you couldn't maybe trawl over it. It just depends the gear you're working. You will see a lot of isolated wrecks here in the English Channel. And here in the bottom part of this image, you're starting to see sand waves appearing to the south of our main image. Main image is picking up this deep water gully. A depth of 53 fathoms, gouged out of a 45 fathom seabed. But if we take a look here, we'll start to see these small crescent shaped features. And that looks like a wreck about here. Take a look at that. Quite a small object in the seabed, but very high. Jumping up to 40 fathoms in a 45 fathom seabed, so a wreck of some kind. Along towards start point here. Again, 6 mile limit and the 12 mile limit. Take a look at the 12. Quite a flat, meandering section of seabed. If we go inside the 12 towards the 6, start to see a little bit more detail. Again, a ridge running east-west across the seabed with sand waves being generated from it. I think the images speak for themselves. two wrecks here, side by side, or the same wreck broken in half. It's certainly got multiple soundings over the top of it, so it can be to be avoided by trawl, but netters, longliners, netters especially, that's what you're looking for. And any of these other isolated peaks. Okay, I'll stop there. Just at the end of the video, we'll put up the list of outlets where the software and charts can be procured. You can get these charts in all European countries: France, Spain, Ireland. In the UK, we manufacture and sell them here.